Welcome to the question of the day. Today's question is from Nick in Utah. And Nick asks, I feel like I deliver a great experience, but then I get a poor Google review or a complaint from a customer. How can I make sure I'm delivering a great experience? And if I do goof up, how do I fix it? Great question. I'm going to give you a quick answer and then I'm going to go much more in depth here. So the quick answer is uh, don't let it happen, right? So know your process, execute your process, don't let mistakes happen. When I was a high school wrestler, I wasn't a very good high school wrestler, but me and my best friend, we were in the same weight class and we would wrestle off every single Thursday. And whoever won got to represent the weight class at the tournament or the duel, whatever we had coming up. And my buddy would beat me every week. And it wasn't just that he beat me. There was a certain way that he beat me. He beat me with this move called the butcher. And the butcher was basically where he would take my arm and wrap it around my neck and choke me with my own arm. And believe it or not, when you're choking on your own arm and you got drool like coming down the side of your face, you become very willing to be pinned. And so he beat me every week with the butcher. And I was getting worried because it's getting to the end of the season here, and I hadn't represented varsity yet. And it's my last year wrestling, and I wanted to represent varsity because if you represented varsity, you got the letter. And if you got the letter, you could put it on the jacket. And if you had the jacket, you got the girl. And that's really like all I cared about in high school. So I really wanted to be varsity. And so I went to my coach, Coach Lurbachen, and I said, hey, coach, he beats me every week with the butcher. I said, how do I get out of the butcher? And he looks around like he's going to tell me a secret. And he motions me to come close. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. And he leans in and he says, you don't get in the butcher. I was like, coach, come on. I knew that already. That's the answer to your question here. How do I avoid goof ups? How do I avoid unhappy customers? You don't get in the butcher. You know your process. You practice your process. You have somebody ride along with you, identify opportunities. You train on those opportunities. You have one-on-ones, debrief. This is all tied into goals. Like you're constantly getting better. The best are always getting better. I was asked one time, how do you identify successful people? And the answer is they always want to get better. Those are successful people. Doesn't matter how good it is, there's always something to get better. And so you know your process so well that you don't get into these situations. So that's the quick answer. But let's dive a little deeper into your question. The second part of your question was, if I do goof up, how do I fix it? And I think that happens, right? Like we are human. Goof ups are going to happen. So one question I guess I would ask would be, do you currently check in with the customer? Is there some time after the sale has happened that we check in to make sure that the customer is completely satisfied? This could be like during the installation or after the installation, when the work is getting done. Do we check in? And if we're not, I would start doing that. Start checking in. Now, I'll share with you one question that I asked when I had my first sales job. My first sales job, I sold used Subarus. That was my first sales job. And when I was selling a used car, I had a tough time figuring out, like, should I ask for the sale? Should I not ask for the sale? Because what I would always do is we'd get done with the test drive and I would say, well, what did you think? And I would always get the answer like, yeah, it was good. What do you do with that though? Like that didn't tell me. Like I was trying to figure out in my mind, do I move forward and ask them, is this the car you want to take home today? Or do I pivot to find another car? And so I found that question wasn't getting me anywhere. And so I tweaked that question and added some teeth to it. And so the question I started asking was, all right, scale of 1 to 10, what did you think of this vehicle? And you can't say 7 because everybody says 7. That's how I'd ask the question. And what it did was it would force the customer to move into saying an 8, 9, or 10, or a 6 or less. And that to me was, if it was an 8, 9, or 10, that gave me the green light to move forward and say, is this the car you want to take home today then, right? Or I could even add an additional question. I would say, well, if it was an 8, what would have made it 1 or 2 better? And that would help me identify, is there something I can do to make this a little better? And then help me identify, should I ask them, is this the car you want to take home today? But if it was a 6 or less, well, then I would ask, like, whoa, so it sounds like it's missing the mark. What's it missing, right? And they would say, well, it smells funny or something like that, right? But now I know not to be dumb and ask, do you want to buy the smelly car? No, you're not going to buy the smelly car. So we're going to pivot and find you a different car, right? I'm going to serve my customer and help them. So asking that question in that way helped me determine the best path for the customer. And so we can do the same thing. When we come and we check in with the customer, when the work is being done or is done, we ask our customers, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how's your satisfaction? How satisfied are you? What I don't want to do is I don't want to ask the vague version of that. Like, well, hey, how did the install go? Because they're going to go good. So you want to add those numbers to it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how was the installation? On a scale of 1 to 10, how was your experience? And you can't say 7 because everybody says 7. So what that's going to do is it's going to move customers down one of two paths. Okay. If they go 0 to 6, that means they had a pretty poor experience. Because honestly, I'm in the Midwest here. We have a thing called Midwest Nice. We're going to sugarcoat it. If they say a 6, they probably really wanted to say a 2 or 3. They're just being too nice to you. So like 6 or less means like we goofed up. Something was missing there. And we got to fix it. Now, if they said an 8 or a 9 or a 10, okay, they had a good experience. We probably stood out from the competition. 8 or 9 makes me a little nervous yet, but it probably sided with they had a good experience, right? And so, but it puts me down two paths of what am I going to do with this, right? So if it's a 0 to 6, I got to fix this because you're about to get nailed in a Google review and they're going to tell all their family, friends, like that's not good. And so a 0 to 6, I have to ask this follow-up question. I have to ask and apologize as well. I have to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you had that experience here. What can I do to fix it? Ask them that question. What can I do to fix it? I'm sorry. What can I do to fix it? Because we have to fix that situation. We want to be proactive in fixing that situation. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Now, if it's an 8 or 9, I can still do that. I would probably ask something like this. What would have made it 1 or 2 better? Because there's probably an opportunity here that you can still save it. Like it was good, but it wasn't great. If it was great, they would have said 10. And so if they say 8 or 9, what would have made it 1 or 2 better? There's an opportunity for you to deliver and still make this a 10 in their eyes. Now, let me get back to the fixing it, right? So if they say 0 to 6 and we say, man, I'm sorry you had that experience. What can I do to fix this? Or even the 8 or 9, if we're trying to make it a little better. I need to have something in place first. And what I need to have in place is I need to know what my abilities are as a salesperson. And this is a conversation you need to have with your manager ahead of time. I need to have that conversation and say, like, what am I empowered to just do in the moment? What am I empowered to do and then just make sure you know about it? And what do I have to ask permission for? So there's 3 categories there, and you need to know where your abilities fall in that. So the first one was you can just do it. Define with your leader, what are the things you can just do? Like an example like this would be, and I'm just throwing out numbers here, so don't take these numbers as gospel, you decide. But an example would be, hey, I give you the power that if you see anything wrong, you have $500 to fix it. Like you can always throw $500 in to fix a situation. Okay. So now I know $500 or less, I am empowered. I can just do it. I don't need to ask anybody. I don't need to tell anybody. I can just do it to fix a situation. not discounting. I'm not talking about discounting, to fix a situation. Okay. But then there's something like, well, maybe they say, like, well, if it's in that $500 to $700 range, like, do it. Just let me know about it. Okay. So again, don't take those numbers as gospel, but that second category is like, I can do it in the moment. Just make sure I know about it, and we'll just make sure it doesn't happen too often. Okay. And then that third category is I got to ask permission. That would be like the customer saying, like, I don't know, I'd like 2 grand off of this. Like, whew, that's well beyond my $500 limit. And so you're going to have to call the manager and get it okayed first, which is okay. Like, you can do that. You're working on behalf of the customer here. Call your manager, see if you can get that approved, or whatever it is, or find some middle ground there. But you have to know what your powers are here. Okay. Because then when you ask that customer and they say 0 to 6, you say, man, I'm sorry. What can I do to fix it? Now, whatever they say, which category does it? Is it fall into the first category that I can just fix it? Then do that. Fix it right away. Does it fall in the second category where I can fix it and I got to make sure and tell my manager? Great. Do it, and then make sure your manager knows. And if it falls in that third category, you better get on the phone, talk to your manager, explain the situation, and figure out some kind of common ground with the customer here. But have those conversations, because here's the killer. Customer perception is reality. Okay. Whether we did a good job or not, like, that honestly doesn't matter. The customer perception is the reality. If they feel like we did a poor job, they're going to tell all of their family and friends. They're going to put it on social media. They're going to nail us on a Google review. That is going to be very costly to us, much more costly than if we were to fix it right here. Now, I got great news for you. This is actually an amazing opportunity here. There is such a thing called the service recovery paradox. Here's what the service recovery paradox is. So if you were to draw a graph, imagine a graph, right? And along the bottom of the graph, you have time. And along the left axis, you have experience. Okay. So you got this graph here, and a normal experience would go up to the right at a 45-degree angle. That would be a normal experience. But we screwed up somehow. Okay. So ours is tracking lower. Our customer is having less of an experience. They are not satisfied. The service recovery paradox says that if a customer has a poor experience, but then you fix it, their experience actually goes higher than if you'd have done it right the first time. So think about that. If you went to a restaurant, for example, and they just did everything that they're supposed to do, you would have a normal experience. And that would honestly be kind of forgettable, right? But if you went to a restaurant and they screwed up your steak, but then they fixed it and they comped your bill, now in your mind, you think that restaurant is amazing. You would give them great reviews. You're going to tell your family and friends about how they stood by their product and brought you out a steak and fixed it and didn't even charge you for it, right? Like, you're going to tell everybody about that. So they had a better experience than if they'd have just done it right the first time. That is the service recovery paradox. I witnessed this myself just a year ago. So we were at the Mall of America, Minneapolis. I was there with my in-laws and my kids, and I got 2 young kids, and it was about 1 o'clock. We probably should have fed our kids already. It was getting late for lunch, and the kids really wanted to go to Rainforest Cafe, right? So the with all the animals moving, the thunderstorms, all that stuff, right? So it's busy at the Mall of America. There was a wait to get in. So now it's getting well past 1 o'clock by the time we sit down. Kids are hungry, and hungry kids become savages. Anybody that has young kids, you know this. Like, when they're hungry, if they have not been fed, they become savages. They get whiny. They start fighting. They're fighting with each other. They're fighting with you. They're throwing, like, it's horrible. Okay. So it was busy. Now we were there and we start looking at menus and whatnot, trying to figure out what we're going to order. But eventually it's like 45 minutes. We haven't even had a waitress yet. 30, 45 minutes, something like that. We haven't even had a waitress yet. And so what the heck's going on? My kids are driving me nuts. So I go and I find somebody, right? And finally track somebody down. And then they come and they take our order. Okay. Still no food, still no food. Like 45 minutes later again. And like, we don't have any food. Haven't seen our waitress in a while. Like, I know it's busy. So I was trying to like take that into account. I didn't expect my food right away, but it's been like 45 minutes and we haven't gotten any food yet. And so I went looking again and I found our waitress. And she's like, "Oh, I'll get to the bottom of it." And what we heard was somehow it got lost in the system. So our order wasn't even in yet. Like we've been there an hour and a half. It's getting close to like 3 o'clock already. We haven't eaten lunch. My kids are like gnawing on the booth ready. Like, and they don't even have our order in yet. But then the waitress came back and she brought these goofy little green frogs. Okay, it's about 5 inches high. It's a mug and it's got like a little juice sipper thing on the back and it's full of apple juice. My kids loved these goofy little frogs filled with apple juice, and it completely changed their demeanor. They started behaving, they were excited, they were sucking their apple juice, and shortly thereafter, our meal came, everybody ate, everybody was happy. And now, today, if you ask my kids, hey, what do you think about the Rainforest Cafe? They're just filled with glowing memories of how great the Rainforest Cafe was because they got their little frogs full of juice. They don't remember how hungry they were. They don't remember the horrible experience they were having there. They just remember the goofy little frog with juice. And myself, well, I remember I finally got some peace and quiet. I finally got a moment where I stopped fighting with them and I stopped fighting with my spouse about fighting with them. Like, and like everything was just a little calmer and a little better. Happy kids, happy wife, happy life. Everybody, we're holding hands and singing Kumbaya. But it was a service recovery paradox. We had a very poor experience, but then all it took was a frog and juice, and everybody had a better experience. And now I'm telling you all about Rainforest Cafe on a podcast. So your takeaway from this today is remember the frogs. And also start scheduling a follow-up and ask that 1 to 10 question, but they can't say 7 about their experience. So that's today's question of the day. Follow and give a rating. Question of the day is on major streaming platforms. If you have a question, reach out to me either on social media or email. Both are going to be listed below in the show description. Let's get your questions answered. And if you're a Nexstar member, schedule a call with me. Let's get this addressed one-on-one with your specific company in mind. I'm Coach Chris. We will see you tomorrow.